Okay, hey everybody. Um, Look, I have talked about that I have all kinds of interests. From silly stuff like Love After Lockup, Marriage in Huntsville, um, to Real Housewives of Potomac, which is coming on this Sunday. But I also have another side of me, as some of you will hopefully see with the Black Knowledge History Jam that I've done. Um, and the reason why I'm getting on here right now is because of the recent incident, and I just happened to catch it on the Shade Room. With the woman, her handle is Goddess J. She's a black woman who was clearly harassed and, as far as I'm concerned, verbally assaulted and mistreated at a pregnancy center in Philadelphia. A black woman who was complaining about pain and came in for a doctor's note. She's far along in her pregnancy, and she literally has on tape this white woman threatening to call the police on her, actually calling the police on her. She's basically telling the story and then showing us how this white nurse or nurse practitioner behaved. Not a doctor, nurse practitioner. Now, the thing that made me so angry about this is, one, that it happened, two, that she is still on social media having to somehow defend her behavior. She said this woman called the police on her when the doctor said, "I want you to go in the back rooms and have a conversation with me." The doctor, who a nurse practitioner, a nurse, is legally supposed to listen to by law, and if not, that is why nurses get fired, because some of them get ahead of themselves and think they have the right to behave as the doctor. I am not suggesting white doctors don't do this to black people all the time, but this is very common medical racism. And it broke my heart for her, because this said to me, this is additional stress on the black baby that's about to come into this world because its mother is being harassed. So she says she goes back there, and the woman says, "Don't take me to, don't take her to my office." And she was like, "Okay, weirdo, why would anybody want to go to your office?" She calls the police because this black woman calls her a weirdo. My problem with that is, one, it's stupid and you call the police because somebody called you a weirdo. My real problem is, why in the hell are the police showing up because you called somebody a weirdo and they felt threatened? I do know one thing: when you call the police and talk about being threatened, they do ask the race of the person who's doing it, and they respond accordingly, and that's why they showed up. And she said, "I didn't record the police interaction because I really didn't want anything to happen like that. I just told them basically the same thing, that I'm having a lot of pain around my cervix. I need a doctor's note." She has the nerve to interrogate this woman, this black woman, about why she even got pregnant in the first place. White people do this all the time. They are, and especially in the doctor's office, they are not subtle. They are nasty. Their energy is nasty. Black women are judged. They're mistreated, and they don't get the appropriate health care. The idea that she should be resting is this idea that she, as a black woman, or she, as this so-called usurper of government resources, she must be doing that, even though she's asking for a doctor's note so she doesn't have to go to work in pain. This was a white woman, it would have never been a question. They don't even take our pain seriously. And I'm on here talking about it because, yes, I am somebody who cares about black women, black women's protection, particularly in the doctor's office. I'm somebody who has been advocating for anti-medical racism for some time. And I, as an educator, have created electives where we talk about medical racism, the history behind Margaret Sanger and what eventually becomes Planned Parenthood, originally being, this kind of place in which there's birth control, right? And birth control at first, she comes out and white women have praised her as this feminist, so on and so forth. But the thing is, and granted, you can be, unfortunately, in our society, you actually can be racist and be a feminist in American society. And in the words of Bell Hooks, white women who typically go so hard for feminism and then ignore the issues of black women, it's because they really desire to have the same power as white men, not to see women fully liberated. And this is an example, because this was a white woman that did this to a black woman who's carrying a child, of all things. Okay? And Margaret Sanger, started out about, just her having the right over her own body and birth control and making it legal. And then it began to get focused on Irish women and black women. And then she comes up with something called the Negro Project, where they begin to put these centers for, healthcare and birth control in places like New York, but especially in the rural South. And this is why so many black women, whether it be your grandmothers, your great grandmothers, hell, your mothers, your aunts, your sisters, your cousins, have these stories where they don't trust doctors and they don't trust birth control. And that comes through the oral histories. And those things are very real. Just because everything is not documented and written down does not make them not real when they happen to black people. And even when it is written down, people will still tell you that you're lying. That's how racism works. Black people can say white people are lying and whatever. But white people have not only the prejudice against black people, but the power. Like, I don't know, denying her a doctor's note until the actual doctor gets on the phone and makes an effort for the girl at the front to make sure that she has it. Right? But think about all the pain and stress that come with that situation, and now with the attention of the situation. But this is one thing I do know. Not only have black women gone through these experiences, and when I talk about oral histories, black women have been writing these things down also for a long time. Black women don't get published at the same rates, and they don't get the notoriety they deserve. So like I said, as an educator, I've done plenty of things on environmental racism and medical racism. And so when I talked about Margaret Sanger moving into the Negro Project and becoming a eugenicist, and eugenicist coming from the root word is Greek, eugenes, meaning well-born. And well-born meant healthy, wealthy, white. And in the opposite of that society, and this is also across Europe, which is why Hitler has language to use this against the Jews. This kind of manipulation and disrespect and degrading of human beings always has a way of getting to other people when you let it out of control. So Harriet Washington, who I'm a huge fan of, wrote this book called Medical Apartheid, which I encountered in college when I was at Spelman. And this is a book I've come back to so many times. The analysis, her stories on Fannie Lou Hamer and just the average black woman from slavery well into the AIDS crisis is one of the best, I think, and this comes highly recommended from me, Salah Johnson, PhD. And it's something everybody needs to read so they can be aware. And these are the kind of things I think medical schools should be responsible. This shouldn't be this kind of elective sort of thinking in medical school. People should have to actually go through this, read it, understand it, constantly reevaluate themselves and relearn. The same way black people have for centuries had to constantly evaluate themselves in a white society that was oppressive to them. White people should be very active in undoing their oppression. Medical Apartheid, Harriet A. Washington. She also has a book. She's a medical historian, but one of her books, A Terrible Thing to Waste, basically how environmental toxins have affected people's not only mental health, but their physical ability to live, why lead in water is so dangerous. I would suggest getting that, and that's actually a very recent book. It's like 2018, 2019. And I would suggest you get that. Additionally, one of the people I also look to is Dorothy Roberts, and you can even YouTube these people just speaking about these things, because I realize that reading, sometimes people just don't have the time. Sometimes it's easier to listen to something on the way to work. But Killing the Black Body, Race, Reproduction, and the Meaning of Liberty by Dorothy Roberts is an incredible book that opened my eyes to a series of case studies where she tries to chronicle this in a book. You always have more examples than you can put in here, but we get the point. And chapter 4, because I always come with actual receipts. Chapter 4, Making Reproduction a Crime, when she starts chronicling the experiences of black women and how they're punished by the legal system, by a lack of resources toward maternal health care, and they make black reproduction a crime unless they can benefit from it. And so when I saw that video, I got really upset. I got really hurt. I don't know that woman. I don't have to know her. But I do have sense enough to know that if it happens to one, it can happen to another. Certainly another black woman, and it's been happening. And I'm glad she's not quiet about it. So like I said, I saw in the Shade Room, her handle was Goddess J. I imagine if she didn't want it there, it wouldn't be there. I would say go show her some love and support. But yes, these books, black women have documented these things. These are not the only 2 books. This just happened to be ones I could reach off my bookshelf because I'm a voracious reader. Go get them. Listen to it. YouTube these people while they talk about their research. I'm telling you, it's something we all need to know and be able to hold people accountable for. All right. So enjoy your Saturday, and I'm going to do other videos like this as it comes, because I just don't believe in staying quiet about these things that are so critical. All right. Happy Saturday. Bye-bye.